What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. It has been a few weeks since I last posted, and that is because we welcomed another daughter into the world. We are calling her Slim Jim. More on that in a minute. I just want to say thank you so much for your support over the years. Thank you so much. Whether this is your first video watching or your 500th video watching, thank you so much. Having another child has it's made me very grateful, not only for my family, but for everyone here that is watching and supporting my family. Thank you. I got a lot of questions. Basically what I did is I put up on my Instagram, if you don't follow me, you can do that here. I said I'm going to do a big life update now that we had our second daughter. And so if you have any questions about me personally, as a business owner, as a father, as a husband, whatever, no questions are off limits. I got a bunch of questions and I'm going to answer a lot of them in this video. This is probably going to be a longer video if you're going on a walk or getting a workout in or cleaning up the house or commuting. I hope this video keeps you good company and I hope it gives you more insight into me and my family as well. With that being said, I'm not going to try and rush through these questions and answers. I'm just going to take my time and hopefully you enjoy it. Before we get into the questions, I just want to give you, if you haven't heard yet, why my daughters, the nicknames are Old Abe for my oldest daughter, who just turned 2, and Slim Jim for my youngest daughter, who was just born. If you followed me on Instagram, you know the story, but I'll just outline it here as briefly as I can. Old Abe is named after my great-grandfather, Abraham. And Abraham, he was born in Russia, and it was in the late 1800s, and Tsar Nicholas II was the emperor of Russia at that time. Jews in Russia it was very dangerous for Jews in Russia at that time. They were not allowed to be citizens. They had restrictions on where they could live, restrictions on what jobs they could have, and there were many pogroms. If you Google search that word, P-O-G-R-O-M-S, pogroms, it's basically an organized rape, killing, destruction of Jewish communities. There were many of those going on, not to mention Tsar Nicholas II made it a law that said all Jewish boys at 12 years old had to enter the military. And not only that, but they had to join the front lines of the military, basically using them as cannon fodder to try and get rid of the Jews as efficiently as they could. And when he turned 12, Abraham, his parents, so my great-great-grandparents, said he had to leave. He had to get out because they wanted him to have at least some chance of survival. He left Russia. He made it to the United States in the late 1800s at 12 years old, a little boy who didn't speak any other language. Somehow, he learned English and started a life and created a legacy. Unfortunately, he was never able to get in touch with his family again, so he never knew what happened to them, and they never knew what happened to him. And he was so worried that spies of Russia were going to find him and bring him back that he never told any of his family what town he was from, where he was actually from. He never gave any indication as to where his family was because he didn't trust anyone and didn't know what would happen to his family back home or if they would bring him back there. So we have very limited information on him, on his family. Ironically, every time I share this story, there's always someone who has a very similar story to that with their Jewish great-grandfather. So if you have any information, I would love to hear it if you have a family member in a similar situation, so I can get to know potentially where Abraham is from. But anyway, we named my first daughter after him. We don't share the names of our children on social media. While there are many, many amazing people, there are unfortunately many crazy and weird people as well, and some dangerous people, so we just try and keep their identities private. And when I told my Instagram and community that we're naming my first daughter after Abraham, many people got confused. They're like, wait, you're naming your daughter Abraham? It's like, no, her name is not Abraham, it's just named after him. With that in mind, that's why we named her after Abraham, and then Slim Jim is named after my wife's great uncle, and his name is Jimmy, or his name was Jimmy. Jimmy was a war hero in World War II. He fought in the Battle of the Bulge, which is one of the most famous or infamous battles of the entire World War II. It's sort of Hitler's last-ditch effort to try and turn the tides of the war in his favor. He had been losing on both fronts, and basically the reason they call it the Battle of the Bulge is because Hitler basically took as many soldiers, as many tanks, as much as he possibly could to try and break through the lines of the Allies on the Eastern Front, and it created this bulge in the Allied lines. That's why it's called the Battle of the Bulge. And it actually looked like Hitler might actually succeed. He didn't succeed, thank God. My wife's great uncle Jimmy, he was a fighter in the Ardennes, and I was actually over my wife's grandparents' house within the last couple of years, and the United States military had provided a written out sheet of all of the counterattacks and all the things that Jimmy had done during this battle, and he saved many soldiers' lives. He led numerous very successful counterattacks, and then literally within like a week before the battle was over, he was killed in the Battle of the Bulge. It's crazy because he would write letters back home and they were addressed to my wife's grandfather when he was just a baby. We named our second daughter after him, and her nickname is now Slim Jim in honor of Uncle Jimmy. So that's where they get their nicknames. That's why we don't share their names. Hopefully you enjoy those stories as much as we do. And now let's get into the questions. All right, first question is from I Love to Sleep, and she asked, I'm just checking in to see if Neenee is okay. Thank you so much for asking. She's doing great. After old Abe was born, after our first child was born, it was very difficult. She had a really difficult postpartum experience for the first 3 to 6 months. It was really challenging. And we spoke about that on social media, which people really enjoyed. We've learned a lot, both of us. The second time around has been so much better. I'm not going to share anything when she's not here specifically in regard to how we're approaching her postpartum experience. I sort of want her to be with me and maybe to have her share that. But what I will say is it's much better. She's way happier. She's in less pain. She is, and that's something that I never really heard spoken about before this. Like I never heard about how painful, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally, but the physical pain like is real. She's in far less pain. She's way more comfortable. And believe me, like the sleep deprivation is real. The challenges and difficulties are real. I'll talk all about them in this video at some point. But in terms of just simply the postpartum recovery experience, she is leaps and bounds better this time around. So thank you for checking in. We'll do another video with her involved. We've got a lot going on in the house now with Curtis, our 7-month-old puppy, old Abe, Slim Jim. We'll get her out here to talk about it in another video. And thank you. She's doing wonderful. All right, next question is from keiko.ona, and they said, what made you want to become a parent? Do the benefits of having kids outweigh the negatives? It's a very good question. It's a loaded question. I'm not gonna try and speed through this. I'm gonna take my time. What made me want to become a parent is I've always actually wanted to be a parent. I've always wanted to be a dad since I was a kid. I never thought that I was gonna be married when I was younger. I thought that I would be a single dad and I would adopt kids. That's what I always thought. And the reason for that is because, and I've been open about it, my parents had a horrible marriage, a really, really bad marriage. They finally got divorced when I was 16, and I was like, thank God. It was a huge weight off my shoulders when they finally got divorced. People often say, oh, I'm so sorry your parents got divorced. I was like, no, like you don't understand. Living in that house was awful. So finally when they got divorced, it was just amazing. I love stand-up comedy. My brother is a stand-up comic. He's crushing it. If you don't follow my brother, you should. He's amazing. He recently lost 150 pounds. Incredible guy. His stand-up career is blowing up. I'm super proud of him. I love stand-up comedy. One of the things, if you follow stand-up comedy, is if you've ever been watching a stand-up comic, you'll laugh when they say something, and oftentimes you'll be like, oh my God, it's so true. That, like those words, oh, it's so funny because it's true. I would watch these stand-up comics all make fun of marriage and how bad it was. So between the marriage that I saw growing up and how so many stand-up comedians and movies and sitcoms would basically talk about how awful marriage was, I was like, why would anybody in their right mind ever want to get married? And there was only ever one marriage that I saw growing up that was actually a representation of a really good marriage, which was my aunt and uncle. They have one of the greatest marriages I've ever seen in my entire life. And so I was like, they're just like the outliers, they're the lucky ones. And so I never wanted to get married, but I always wanted to have kids. And then once I started dating my wife, or my now wife, then things changed. But to be honest, I didn't think like immediately early on, I wasn't like, yeah, we're gonna get married. It wasn't like a see you an immediate marriage. It took a lot of time. We actually dated long distance for 2 years before we moved in together. And then we lived together another year before I proposed to her. It was funny, like the long distance, I told you this is gonna be a long video. I'm just gonna go into it. A lot of people say long distance doesn't work, long distance can't work. And I always laugh at that because number one, I know a lot of short distance relationships that don't work. Like people start dating like right down the hall or right down the street and it doesn't go well, it explodes. Like a lot of close distance relationships don't work either. What was great for us about long distance was that it forced us to communicate. It forced us, like we couldn't rely on the physical. We had to rely on communication as the literal foundation and building block of our relationship. Even we dated for 2 years long distance, then she moved in, and it was funny because I remember being like, this is too good to be true. When we were long distance, we would see each other once every 4 to 8 weeks. It was usually like 6 weeks on average. And it was only for like a 2 to 3 day stint at a time. Occasionally we would be able to take like a week-long vacation, but that was rare. I remember like, I was like, this is just too good to be true. There's no way she could be this good. So I was like, we've got to move in together before we get married because I want to like see like who you really are. And then we lived together for a year and I was like, she's exactly who she is. She's exactly who she says she is. And I got to a point where I realized my life would be way worse without her. And I was like, that's it. Like my life is gonna be way worse if she's not in it. So that's it. You're the one. You know what I mean? It was like, I approached it from, I think, a much more logical perspective where I was like, you're in my life and my life is great. If you were out of my life would be nowhere near as good. End of story. Then from there, like, we were both on the same page. We both wanted to have kids. We both wanted to have a big family, as was one of the questions, how many kids do you want? We don't know. I think we at least want 3, but potentially up to 5. We'll see. One thing that we really want is we like the chaos. We like the craziness, and it's something to complain about and commiserate over, but we really love it. One of the benefits of being alive in today's day and age is being able to so quickly get the perspective of other people who have been where you are, and social media is a really great place for that, where I've seen so many parents talking about how now they live, their house is quiet, their kids are out of the house, and it's all calm, and the only thing they wish for is it to be chaotic again, to have the loud and the messy and everything crazy going on. So it's been really wonderful because every time that it's loud and crazy and hectic and chaotic, and I feel myself getting a little bit out of it, I'm like, this moment I will wish that I could have back even for 10 seconds in the future. We would like to have really big families. Both of our families growing up, my wife and I didn't have upbringings that we would like to give to our children. We want to make it a different environment. We want to be the house that everyone comes to. We want to be the house that everyone in the neighborhood feels welcome at. We want our kids to be excited to bring people over. We want to build almost like not just a home, but like a community type of a thing. And it's sort of, so we're actually building a house right now, which is a hellish process, by the way. It's insane. But even the design of the house is built in a community setting. A lot of the houses here in Texas we've found are very long, and so like you could go from one end to the next, and you'd have to scream in order to like potentially get someone else's attention, and we didn't want that. Like, we actually built our house in a very community style where we can all be relatively close together, and who knows, maybe when they're snot-nosed teenagers, we'll be like, why did we do this? This is a terrible idea. But that's sort of how we are focused around this. So I've always wanted to be a parent. I'm trying to think if there's anything I want to add to this in terms of like, how did I know? I've always wanted to be a dad. I think I've spoken about it before. I haven't spoken to my dad in many years. And it's something that I crave for myself. And, you know, he's not my blood father, but someone I very much consider my father in Israel. His name is Mickey, and he's been like a real father figure to me in my life. And I've had many father figures in my life, whether it's Mickey, who I like actually consider my dad, or Louis Simmons from West Side Barbell, Gary Vaynerchuk. There have been a number of people in my life who have taken me under their wing, another number of men who have taken me under their wing and treated me like a son. It was something I craved my whole life, and so to have that, I understand what it's like to not have it, and I understand what it's like to have it. And I want to provide that for other people. And obviously for my children, I want them to know that they have they know they have the best mother in the world, but I want them to know they have a loving, caring father figure as well. I've always wanted to be able to provide that, and it's a blessing to be in a position to have that opportunity now. All right, next question. This guy said, what do you say to dudes in their mid-30s trying to find the right person, but just haven't yet? There are so many things that one could say, and obviously every individual in every scenario is going to be very different. Ooh, I feel like I could say anything here and people are gonna blow up at me and they're gonna be like, yeah, I can't believe you answered that way. You should have said this, you should have said that. I'm gonna say it as I feel it, and hopefully it resonates. I think that one of the biggest issues in our modern day and age is that because of the phones that we have and because of social media, we have access to more opportunities than ever before. And when I say opportunities, I really mean potential partners, men, women, dating partners, life partners, husbands, wives, whatever you want to call it. No matter who you're with, it's very easy to open this and see someone else and be like, oh, but they could be better, and they could be better, and they could be better. And I think this is absolutely destroying relationships. I think it's destroying potential relationships. I think it's preventing people from investing time with one person, because as soon as someone does one thing that maybe they don't like, they're like, well, I'll find someone else who doesn't do that. And I think one of the most important things for me to realize is that there will never be anybody in the entire world who will check every single box that you want. And equally important, you will not be able to check every single box that someone else wants. It's very easy to think about like, oh, this person doesn't do this person doesn't do that, but you have to be logical about it too and realize like you're not checking everyone else's boxes either. It's like there's a lot that you lack as well. With that in mind, I think if you're ready to really commit to someone, and I'm not an expert in this, I'm just giving my thoughts. I'm a personal trainer. If you're really ready to commit to someone, I think you need to shut off other options. And you need to be okay like with someone else making a mistake. We often see these like, oh, this is a red flag, this is a red flag, oh, don't date someone if they do this, don't date someone if they do that. All we see is the negative, break up with them. I probably wouldn't take advice from your closest friends and family, which might be a dangerous thing to say. Obviously there are exceptions to that rule, but I know for a fact that your friends and your family, you are their main concern. And so they're only seeing it from a you perspective. And when you say like, oh, this happened, they're only getting a one-sided conversation. They're only getting your point of view and they're gonna be like, I can't believe they did that. You should break up with them, da-da-da-da-da. I think that you need to be okay with shutting off all other options, make that a priority, and absolutely try and dedicate yourself to that individual. It doesn't mean that you have to propose to them immediately. Again, it took me 3 years to propose to my wife. I don't think you have to get engaged right like that, get married like that. I think you should take your time with it, but shut off other options. And the main point I'm trying to make is be okay with them making mistakes. It's okay. And especially because people change over time. Even as you date someone and you're married to someone for a long time, like people change. Just because they make a mistake now doesn't mean they're going to keep making that mistake in the future. And also, if they do something that you don't like, communicate it. This is just, and it sounds so basic, but if you see someone in a relationship, romantic or not, and they do something that doesn't sit well with you, you need to be, especially in this case, you need to be man enough to say what you think and say what you feel. Don't shove it down, don't ignore it. I mean, imagine if you're a man, you're dating a woman, and she's mad at you, and you're like, well, why are you mad? And she's like, you know why I'm mad. It's like, no, I don't. I need you to tell me. But I think many men do this as well, where like they'll see a woman do something that maybe they don't like, but then they don't voice it. You should voice it and be aware of how they take that. Are they taking that in a way that is open to constructive criticism? Are you able to take things in a way that's open to constructive criticism? What this really boils down to is communication. Communication and shutting off other options. When you always have other options and you're always looking to trade up for someone who could potentially be better, you're never gonna find anyone, because there's always someone who could potentially be better. But the ironic thing is when you go to find someone who's better, they're not gonna check off every box either, and you're gonna go back to thinking, oh, well, I like that one better, and you're not gonna be able to go back. Maybe that one's now off the table, so now you gotta try and find someone else. Trying to constantly trade up is a very dangerous game, and you will never actually be able to find someone who checks off every single box. It doesn't exist. Next question from Scott8968. Are you going to read Harry Potter to the kids? Absolutely. I pray that they're going to enjoy Harry Potter as much as I do, or at least enjoy Harry Potter half as much as I do. Because if we get into like the third or fourth book and they're like, I don't want you to read the books to me, I'm gonna be devastated. I'm gonna be absolutely torn to pieces. One of my favorite memories as a kid growing up is having my mom read all the Harry Potter books to me and my brother when we were really young. So I am so excited to have that opportunity, and I pray that they let me read the Harry Potter books to them, because I absolutely want to. And they have to read the books before they watch the movies. All right, next question from Samantha. Do you both find it difficult to make sure you are feeding your toddler healthy meals? Woof. I had no idea how difficult having a toddler would be. My oldest daughter, old Abe, she's amazing. I love her so much, more than I ever thought was possible. When Slim Jim first came home for the first 15 minutes, she was so excited. She was like all about her younger sister, and after 15 minutes, she was like, nah, don't care about it anymore. She just turned 2, so it's about that time anyway, but she's gotten really tough. She's gotten very tough. She's a maniac in the best ways, but she's a maniac. If I say don't do something, she does it. If I say do something, she doesn't do it. If I say don't throw it, she throws it. If I say, can I have it? She'll take it. She is a little terrorist running around the house. It's absolutely insane. Eating is not easy with her right now. I should say some days are good, other days are absolutely horrific. So the average is just not good. The most important thing is that she's eating, right? Is that she's getting fed. And so she is eating, and she just had her 2-year doctor appointment yesterday, and so her weight is fine, and she's moving a lot. She's running around constantly. It's insane. It is difficult to get her to eat what I would consider a balanced diet for an adult. It's very difficult to do that with a toddler, because they're a fucking toddler. They're not gonna be eating like an adult eats. We do our best, and the way that we establish it first and foremost is when we're sitting with her, like, we are eating very high quality meals. We're eating a lot of salmon, a lot of avocado. We're eating cottage cheese, a lot of fruit, apples and watermelon. One of my favorite thing in my entire life is in the morning I'll get an apple, and my daughter, Old Abe, she'll come up and sit on my lap and we'll share an apple together. Probably my favorite thing that I do several times a week. It's the best. It's like having her sit on my lap and she gets so excited for the apple. My wife does not allow me to do it during a meal because then she'll only have the apple and nothing else. Long story short, it's very difficult, but we model how we want her to eat by us doing it every single day. When she first started trying avocado, she hated it. Now she loves avocado, but just because she loves it doesn't mean she eats it every day or even every time. Sometimes she'll take it and she'll fucking throw it, and that's that. But there's a lot of milk, and the most important thing is that she's eating and she's in the correct weight range for her age, which she is. She gets ice cream if she eats her dinner. If she doesn't eat her dinner, we're not gonna give her ice cream. We're not gonna reward her for that. But if she eats her dinner and if she still wants ice cream, we'll give her some ice cream. That happens pretty frequently. Sometimes she's like, I don't want ice cream. Sometimes she wants fruit. That's fine. But we also want her to know that it's okay to have ice cream after dinner if she's still hungry and all of that. So we're not gonna reward her for behavior that we don't want to encourage, but we absolutely have no problems giving her some ice cream if she has done everything that we'd like her to do. Keep in mind, having kids is unbelievably difficult and it's incredible, but you're not gonna be able to get them to eat a balanced diet in the same way that an adult can eat a balanced diet. The most important thing is making sure they're fed, making sure they have energy, and getting them moving and having fun and being a kid. Don't be too hard on yourself if they're not following the perfect diet. It's just, I haven't found a single person who's been able to get a toddler to have a perfect diet. And not to mention, I don't know an adult who has a perfect diet. I don't know anyone who does. So give yourself some grace. Try and get your child to have as much whole, minimally processed foods as they can. Plenty of protein, plenty of fiber, plenty of fruits. Find ones that they enjoy to the best of your ability, but also understand they're a toddler and they're gonna grow out of it. All right, we're gonna do a couple more, maybe one or two more parenting ones, then go to business and other things. Vixter G84 said, do you see yourself being a gentle parent? I'm almost positive, and excuse my ignorance, I'm almost positive that this is an actual parenting style nowadays, something called gentle parenting. I've seen the term. I've never read the book. If there's a book, I haven't seen any of the videos. I actually think I have a huge advantage as a parent because I've been a coach for almost 20 years. And I think there's a great amount of crossover in terms of being a good communicator, being a good listener, being a good coach, being a good teacher. I think about it as my favorite teachers growing up, they knew when to be gentle and they knew when to hold me to a very high standard and when to push me and to be more stern with me. I know gentle parenting, I'm pretty sure, is a term, and I would imagine within gentle parenting, there's a time and a place for being stern and providing more structure, and I'm just trying to differentiate between the term gentle parenting and the method of gentle parenting, because I don't know the method, I'm just thinking of the term gentle. If you've ever listened to my podcast, you know how, because on my podcast, I bring in inner circle members, my clients, and have full-on conversations with them. So you know my coaching style, and that's very much how I plan to parent. If you don't listen to my podcast, please go do it. If you like my YouTube, you like my Instagram, my podcast is gonna be your favorite, I promise. I don't like the idea of yelling. And growing up in a house in which I was yelled at a lot, I know from my personal experience that when you yell and get really angry, especially through yelling, what that does is it teaches the child to lie. Because when the child is so scared, especially if the child tells the truth and then you get mad and yell at them because after telling the truth, then why would they tell the truth again? They're going to figure out ways to avoid that response. And so oftentimes, and this is speaking from my own personal experience, I would lie, not because I needed to, but because I was scared of the potential reaction from telling the truth, which then bled over to other areas of my life. And it's just something I've had to talk a lot about, and through therapy and discussions, figure out, okay, I need to understand that reaction isn't coming anymore, and I need to be more forthright and avoid that pattern that I developed as a kid. So I'm not a yeller at all. My wife and I have literally never yelled at each other once, and we don't plan to. I don't think it's a good style of communication, and I don't plan on yelling at my children. Check me on that in 15 years and see if I hold true to that. I don't think yelling makes sense. I think, I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna make mistakes, who knows? But I'm not a yeller. Like, I've never yelled at anybody. I just don't, it's not how I communicate ever. But I do think there are ways to communicate that are very stern and very serious and provide structure in a way that is necessary, not just for children, but for anyone, but especially for children, because I think that children crave structure. Part of giving them structure is you showing that you love them. And if they don't have that structure, they might somewhat enjoy it hedonically as a kid, but as they get older, they'll resent you for it. Like, you didn't take care of me, you didn't give me that structure. I plan to be gentle, but also, I think of it like jujitsu. It's funny, jujitsu is called the gentle art, which is funny. Because if you've done jujitsu, you know, like, you can break people's arms, you can choke people out, break their legs. But the reason it's gentle is because you get to decide how hard you're going to give it to the other person. You get to decide, like, if you know jujitsu and the other person doesn't, you get to decide how much you want to hurt them. You could take them to the ground and hold them, essentially wrap them up like a present and just hold them there without them being able to do anything and not hurt them whatsoever. Or you could take them down and break their arm and elbow them in the face, and, like, you get to decide. And so as the parent, that's how I think of it. Like, I get to decide how far I take it. I'm thinking about it from the perspective of, like, what's actually the most effective for this child's development and for them knowing how much I love them. I will be gentle, but I won't be afraid to be stern. And I think that, there's a line that I tussle with, the idea of, like, I'm not your friend, I'm your father, which I don't know how I feel about that yet, because I absolutely want to be my children's friend, but I also don't want them to think of me as a friend first. I want to be father first, above all, and then knowing they can come to me as a friend in an appropriate time. But with a friend, I think one of the major differences, if you do something wrong, you go to your friend is gonna, like, oftentimes just sort of hype you up and be like, yeah, fuck that other person, whatever. No. Father, I think, holds you to your own highest standard and holds you to the highest expectations and doesn't hype you up in every moment. The father is there to provide structure and to love you and be there for you. And sometimes loving you isn't hyping you up. Sometimes loving you is giving you a hard discussion that you need in that moment. And many would argue that a friend would do the same. For me, it's father first and foremost, and I know I'm rambling at this point, but there will be gentle aspects to my parenting, but I don't think it just describes my entire parenting style.
It's complicated.
It's super complicated. Next question is from Chelsea Mac 03. Was starting your business scary at first? How did you move past that fear? You know, it's funny. Starting my business was not scary at first. And the reason is because when I started my business, I didn't actually know that I was starting a business. That's the irony of it. When I started my online business, I started it in July of 2011. At that point, online coaching wasn't really a thing. I just started a website and I was writing articles just because I wanted to help people online. I wanted to help them for free. I wanted them to have access to high quality fitness information that was easily broken down for them to understand, that they didn't have to pay a lot of money for or any money for. I started this from my dorm room in college at the University of Delaware. Slowly, after a while, people started to find my information. And when I say slowly after a while, I mean like 2 years. 2 years of me putting out free articles every single week, like long, like if you hated writing essays in college or high school, imagine doing that, but way more in depth. Imagine doing a research paper every week for 2 years is essentially what I did, and then making it fun and easy to understand for free. I didn't get anything for 2 years. People started to slowly reach out, ask me to write training programs for them, and I did. And then there was one woman from Brazil who was like, how much do you charge for online coaching? And I was like, that's wild. I'm in my college apartment and a random woman from Brazil wants me to pay me to write her workout program because she's read my articles on my website. Like, that's crazy. And that's when my business officially started from a making money perspective. But for 2 years, I operated without making any money. I tell you that story because I had nothing to lose, so there was no fear. I think nowadays when people are starting a business, they're fearful because they're fearful of, well, what if it fails? What if it doesn't work? When I started my business, there was literally no failure possible. All I had to do was help one person, and then it was a success. And so every time I put something out, if one person saw it and said, oh, that was super helpful, that's my payment. That's great. And I just wanted to work at a gym. I wanted to have my own gym one day, and I just thought the online articles would be a cool way to get my work out there and help more people. I didn't know that I was gonna have an online coaching business and the inner circle and a membership and an app. I had no idea. It wasn't my goal at the time. So the short answer is no, I didn't have any fear. Later on, as things grew and I saw the potential for it, fear would come into play. And I think now my biggest fear is losing everything. My biggest fear at this point is, well, I've taken all this time, all this energy, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, potentially close to $1 million on building my business, on my employees, on my app, on my websites, on everything that I've done. In a second, you could lose it all. Now, how likely is that? Not very likely, but you could, and there are stories about it happening all the time. That's my biggest fear at this point, is losing it all. So no, I didn't have fear of starting it, but I do have fear of losing it. All right, next question from Phoebe Carter Wright. How to stop chasing record months as an online fitness coach and be happy with a stable income. To be clear, the record months I'm assuming means like record in income, like you're breaking your income every month, because she said, and just be happy with a stable income. What I'll say is this, it links nicely with what I just ended with in regard to the fear of losing it. Every time that I've had the most amount of anxiety, and I specifically say the most because when you own a business, there's always some level of anxiety. There's always, you can't own a business and not have at least some underlying level. But whenever I've had the most amount of anxiety and the least amount of enjoyment is when I focused more on money. The more I focused on money and followers, the less happy I was and the more stressed and anxious I was. The more I focused on just helping people, on just doing what I every day, make at least one post to help people, help at least one person today, do my best to help people in the inner circle, help people for free on social media, do one thing to help people. The more I focused on that, the happier I became, the less stressed and anxious I was, and the more money I made. I want to tell you that because I don't want to tell you to stop chasing improvements, but I would urge you not to chase the monetary goal of just more income. I would imagine you didn't become a coach because you wanted to be rich. No one becomes a fitness coach because they want to be rich. I should rephrase that. No good fitness coach becomes a coach because they want to be rich. There are many people nowadays who are calling themselves fitness coaches because they think it's easy money. It's not easy money, I promise. It's fucking brutal. But no good coach starts being a coach because they want to be rich. You become a coach if you're a good coach because you want to help people. That needs to always be your goal. And there's nothing wrong with making money, and there's nothing wrong with building a successful business. Think of it like this way. Think of it like if someone wants to lose fat. If their priority is to hit a certain weight on the scale, oftentimes they hit that number and they still don't like how they look. They still feel like, I still haven't accomplished my goal. I hit the weight, but I still want to lose more weight. And then they get more anxious because they don't look how they thought they would look. They put in all this time, all this effort, and they still don't like how they look. But if they put their emphasis on feeling better, getting stronger, enjoying the process, now whatever the scale says, they're happier, they're healthier, they're better for it. If you're a coach and you tell your clients you shouldn't be worried about the number on the scale, you should be more worried and focused on the process and enjoying the process, but you yourself are focused on the numbers and making more money and getting more followers, you're being a hypocrite. Stop focusing on the numbers. Focus on helping people. Focus on the process, on doing what you know is right, because that's gonna help you be happier, less anxious, and it's actually gonna help your business as well. Okay, Sarah Evelyn said, how are you navigating business ownership while being a dad, a dog dad, and a husband? What I'll start by saying is, when you own your own business, you don't get any time off. Like, Mitch is right here. Mitch owns his own business. Mitch is amazing. If you need a videographer, photographer in the Dallas area, follow Mitch right here. He's the best. Reach out. I've worked with him just over 2 years now. He's amazing. He's laughing because when you own your own business, you don't get time off. I had people ask me if I was going to take paternity leave when both daughters were born, and I had to laugh because I'm like, and who's going to run things? Like, how are my employees going to get paid? It's a small business. I run a small business, and when you own a small business, you don't get paternity leave. It's just not a luxury. With that being said, I wouldn't change it for the world. I would rather not take paternity leave and be able to work from home with my family and set my own hours. And granted, they're long hours, and I would do a lot of work, but I get the freedom to choose how I spend that time. I wouldn't change it, but no, there's no paternity leave. I'm at a point in my career in which I'm very blessed and grateful to be able to take my foot off the gas a little bit. So when before, in like 2016 to 2019, I was posting 3 times a day every day on Instagram, and I was posting at least 1 time a day on YouTube, and I was posting several podcasts every single week, and I had 70 online coaching clients, and I had the Inner Circle, and I was traveling coaching Gary Vaynerchuk. Like, it was work. Now, I'm okay if I just post on Instagram 1 time a day, which, for whatever it's worth, just to give you context, 1 Instagram post takes between like 1 to 4 hours of work. So you have an idea, 1 on the low end, 4 on the high end, usually like maybe 2.5 hours on average for most posts. It's a lot of work to get 1 Instagram post a day. So between that and then everything I do for the Inner Circle, which is my main source of income and my greatest joy in my business, and I get to work with people from all over the world. We have people from numerous countries all over the world who get to come together and use the app that I've built, and it's an amazing blessing. So I get to take the foot off the gas, and when I take the foot off the gas, it really comes off the content creation gas is where that comes from. I don't stop with Inner Circle. That never changes. I have a business for coaches, the online fitness business mentorship, which is to teach coaches how to become better coaches, how to understand nutrition, training, client psychology, communication, systems, and then also how to build their online business. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. I have a podcast for that called the How to Become a Personal Trainer podcast, which if you'd like, you can listen to that. When I take my foot off the gas, it's coming off of the content creation gas. All of like the paid things that I do for my Inner Circle members and for my mentorship members, that stays exactly the same. I can't take my foot off the gas for that. I can't do that. I don't want to do that, and I can't do that. The one thing I can do is off the free content, I can take my foot off gas slightly, which is still doing about 1 post a day on that. Either way, my main priority at this point in my life is my family, and specifically my wife, my 2 daughters, and my dog Curtis, who's a fucking potato donut. And that takes up a lot of time and a lot of energy, and I absolutely love it. And it's also very difficult. I don't think I'm balancing it. The whole concept of balance, I don't really think balance exists. I think we generally think of balance as everything is equal. Like, you get equal parts this. I think it's a flawed view of balance. Or if that is how you view balance, then I don't think it exists. I think balance is sometimes you put more in here and a little bit less in here, and then other times you put more in here and then less in here. So right now I'm putting more in with my family and a little bit less on business. And then one day I'll probably go a little bit more on business and maybe a little bit less on family. I mean, I'm assuming by the time my girls are teenagers, they're gonna be like, fuck you, I want to be with my friends. I'll have plenty of time then to do whatever I want business-wise when they don't want to hang out with me. But for right now, when I wake up in the morning and my daughter screams with excitement to see me, I'm gonna take every opportunity I can to take advantage of that to the fullest extent. I have no issues taking my foot off the gas on business to enjoy the fruits of my family right now. All right, next question. I think we'll do 2 more questions. This is from Emmy Party. She said, how come I don't see you posting about the Inner Circle that much? It's a really good question. So if you don't know, the Inner Circle it's my fitness membership. It's where I put in new training programs, new workout programs every month. We have full gym access programs with barbells and dumbbells and kettlebells and cable machines and like full gym access. We also have just dumbbell only programs. We have bodyweight programs. We have chin-up specialization programs, deadlift specialization programs, squat specialization. We have mobility programs. We also have an entire nutrition section with a calorie tracker, protein tracker, fiber tracker. We have the same database that MyFitnessPal has. We have a massive exercise video database. My wife makes a ton of recipe guides. Actually, by the time this goes live, she'll probably be launching her brand new recipe guide. It's gonna be high protein, high fiber, low calorie, volume 1. She already has a big ass salad recipe guide. She already has a mini cut recipe guide for when I am in a fat loss phase, which I'm gonna go on soon. We also have the most incredible group community. I do a live Q&A once a week. My co-coach, Susan Niebergall, she does a live Q&A once a week. Each Q&A is an hour, so 2 hours every single week, 8 hours every single month of live Q&A with me and my coach, Susan. It's my pride and joy of my business. It's my baby of my business. It's better than I ever imagined it possibly could be. Again, we have people from all over the world. I'm very fortunate to be in a position in which it's doing well enough to where I don't have to constantly be pushing it. I don't have to constantly be berating you, sign up for my program, sign up for my program, sign up for my program. When I'm watching a YouTube video or I'm listening to a podcast or watching someone on social media, I hate it when I'm constantly being told to sign up for their program, sign up for their program, sign up. I don't like it, I don't enjoy it. It makes me not wanna watch their content. I want you to enjoy watching my content. I want you to watch it and be excited when something new comes out. And so I have nothing wrong with selling it a few times a year when I put on a sale and talking about it, but I also I don't want to make all of my content become an advertisement for it. I don't think that would be fair to you, and also I wouldn't enjoy it. Like, I enjoy making content, and I enjoy when people enjoy my content. So that's why I don't talk about it very much. It is the greatest part of my entire business. I mean, I just got these shirts made for it. It's the best. I have an amazing co-coach in Susan Niebergall. She's been working with me. I started coaching her for her fitness in like 2015. She's like my only other person who works on the inner circle specifically with me. She started that in 2017, I believe. So she's been with me for a long time now. We just have literally thousands of people in there who are the most kind, encouraging, supportive, hardworking people who've never worked out a day in their life, who have hundreds of pounds to lose, and then people who've lost hundreds of pounds and who've gotten stronger and improved their lives and their performance, and people who are higher level athletes. We have a guy in there in the UK, I believe he qualified in the for the UK swimming team for the Olympics. Insane. We have an insane breadth of individuals from all different backgrounds all over the world. I don't talk about it much because I don't want to chew your ear off on it just like I just did, but if you'd like to join, you're welcome to. We'll put the link in the description of this video. We would love to have you. Once you join, you'll get an email from us that will tell you how to use it, how to download the app, and you get immediate access to everything. Put out new programs every month, and we're constantly updating and improving the app as well. So we have a full-time app development team that is constantly trying to make it better, and we would love to have you join it and be a part of it. Okay, I know I said 2 more in the last one. Now it's actually gonna be 2 more. I just wanna quickly answer this one. It's from Sarah C. Brady. I wanna answer this one because I really wanna give credit where it's due. Sarah said, how many people work for you / help you manage your business? I wanna go through a list of these people. You can follow them. I'll put a bunch of their social media handles here if they have them. None of what I do would be possible if it wasn't for these people. What I'll first say is my wife, Neenee. She does not work for me. She works with me, and none of what I do would be possible without her. She's like top of the list, and she contributes to the inner circle a lot, especially with her recipe guides, but also just with her being an incredibly supportive wife and mother, and she's amazing. So she's number 1. I have Mitch Lazorko right here. Again, you can follow him, an unbelievable photographer, videographer. We've been working together 2 years now. Extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. I love him with my whole heart. I love his family. Could not recommend him enough. Reach out to Mitch, follow him, he's incredible. None of the video content that I do would be possible if it wasn't for him. Tony Fowler, we'll put his Instagram here as well if you follow him on Instagram. If you listen to my podcast, Tony we call him my podcast producer. He's incredible. I love working with him. He's a major help. Alex Roll is the app developer, and she lives in the UK, and the entire app development team is out in the UK. She does a lot of work with AI. She's extraordinary, so highly encourage you to follow Alex if you have any questions or want to potentially build your own app or do anything AI related. Kat Nardizzi is my, I don't even want to say executive assistant because it doesn't even come close to describing what she does and how incredible she is. Kat is just like a Renaissance woman. She does anything and everything. She's amazing. And Kat was initially, it's Texas, I'm sweating my balls off. Initially one of my clients, might have been in 2014 or 2015. And then she started working for me in 2017 or 2016. Maybe 2016 she started working for me, and she's just the fucking best. If you're in the inner circle and you look at any of the manuals, like how they're designed, she's designed all of them. If you've emailed me at jordan@sciatfitness.com, she's the one replying to that. She's doing all my schedule every day. Look at my calendar, she's doing my schedule. She's fielding emails, she does everything. If something needs to be done, she does it. And she's the best. I love her. She's part of our family. She's just amazing, as is Suden, as is Mitch, as is all of these people. Mike, my business partner, Mike Vacanti, who is Gary Vaynerchuk's coach right now. He's like my best friend in the world. We run the online fitness business mentorship together, so we're 50-50 on that. And he's an amazing coach, one of my all-time greatest friends, and he's amazing as well. What I will say is this, I've been to a bunch of business conferences that I've spoken at. Oftentimes the attendees are a little bit surprised because I'll go up there and often I'll be the last speaker. And the speakers before me were talking about how you want to hire a huge team and you want to have people answering your DM. I'm the only one that answers my DMs. Kat answers my emails, mainly because email gives me a lot of anxiety and we get a lot of emails. I don't answer, no one else answers DMs except for me. I'm in my DMs, I answer them. If you get a message from me on social media, it's me, it's no one else. A lot of these business gurus are telling people to have huge teams, and a big thing right now is build an empire. Like, you want a huge empire. I've seen empires. Like, I coached Gary Vaynerchuk for 3 years. I've seen what it takes to run an empire. I don't want that life. I run a small business, and I'll always run a small business. I don't want an empire. I want a small business that helps as many people as I can and also gives me the freedom to spend time with my family and hang out with my kids and be here with my wife and hang out with my friends. This, especially in the West, there's been a glorification of building an empire and grinding, and that's not me. I'm not saying it's bad, but that's definitely not me. I have a significant team and an amazing team, but I'm not trying to build an empire. I just want a great community. Like a small, close-knit community is what I want. That's that. And none of what I would do, none of it would be possible if it wasn't for every single person that I mentioned, and probably some people I didn't mention, and I apologize. Last one, what is next for you, personal or professional? And this one was from Jiggy JK. I like that, Jiggy JK. What's next for you, personal or professional? Honestly, I just want to be a really good dad and a husband and a coach. That's it. Like that's all I want to do. From a business perspective, ever since I started my business, people would always say, where do you see yourself in 3 years or 5 years or 10 years? That's the most common question that I get from a business. And since I was 21, my answer has always been, I don't know where I see myself in the next 3, 5, 10, 20 years. I just want to help as many people as I can. That's always been my goal. That'll always be my goal. I just want to help as many people as I can. That's it. That's all I want to do. I don't like the idea of having these 5, 10-year plans. They've never worked out I've never done it, so to be fair, I can't say it's never worked out. I know a lot of people, they create these 5-year, 10-year plans and they don't work out. There's always some big curveballs. So for me, as long as the goal is to help as many people as possible, I can't really fail because I can always try and do that. As for personal, just be here with my family. When I was younger, I really liked traveling a lot and going all over and being like, I never understood why people would like being home or why people would like being a homebody, and now I'm officially a homebody. Like, I love being home. I love it. I love being home. I love playing in the yard with my family. I love always being here and always being available if my wife needs it or if my kids need me. It's just, I enjoy being home. I would like to live a very quiet, very stable, enjoyable, healthy life with my family and help people along the way. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please join the inner circle. My family very much appreciates you. And I want to take a minute to really deeply help you understand how much none of what I do would be possible if it wasn't for you, but especially for the inner circle members. That is my main source of income. It is how we put a roof over our head. It is how we feed our family, how we feed Curtis. If you want to help Curtis get some dog food, help our babies get some baby food. Nothing that we do would be possible if it wasn't for the inner circle. That's why we put so much effort into the inner circle. We want to give back to the people who are giving to us. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoy my content, if you want to continue to support my family, and if you'd like me to help you, tell you how many calories to have, how much protein, how much fiber, and make this idea of fitness much simpler than most people are going to make it for you. Basically like having me as a coach in your pocket, join the inner circle. sfinnercircle.com. You'll get an email with all the instructions on how to download the app and how to do everything. If you have any questions, you can always email me, jordan@sciatfitness.com, and Kat, my amazing assistant, will help you as soon as possible. And if you don't want to join the inner circle, you can always get my free calorie calculator. The link is in the description. But if you really want the best of everything that I have, the inner circle is where you're going to find it. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you soon.